Wow, it's Women's History Month. That's just amazing. I am glad our conversation is on trans women in sports. That is a very important thing that we must dedicate our time to discussing. But it's been a week already. I want to move on. Hey, just on a whim, how are women doing in other countries around the world?
A policeman in riot gear is seen beating a female protester in footage shot at an unauthorised demonstration in Russia. The officer is seen striking the woman on the head before she falls to the ground. People around her are heard shouting, "What are you doing?" in Russian.
Okay, I know that looks bad, but I'm sure we'll find a very enlightened opinion in the comments section. Okay, let's just check, alright? Fellow intellectuals. We need more cops like him in the United States. Give that guy a promotion. You earned my respect, sir. You shouldn't mess with an officer, especially a Russian officer. The crowd attacked him and took away part of his gear. All I did was take the gear back. Seems fine to me. I see no problem here. Just a police officer doing his job. Keep up the good work. We need more riot police like him. They were trying to kill him. It's called self-defense. This is what happens when you're playing around in Russia. Just saying. Now, this is great, but I am wondering, why were these protesters playing around in Russia? I wonder what reasons there possibly could be for that. I don't know, I'm just curious.
Last year in this Siberian apartment block, Vera Pechtelova was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. She was a 23-year-old student, just come to pick up her things.
Оператор 112.
Девушка, вы слышите, как она орет там за дверью?
Я что должна сделать-то?
Где милиция?
Чего так разговариваете?
А как где дверь-то открыта, там ее убьют сегодня?
Полиция приедет, не надо материться.
The neighbours called for help 7 times, but no one came. When they finally broke the door down, it was too late.
Что с девушкой? Девушка уже мертва. 1,5 часа вызывали службы для спасения. Девушка орала: «Помогите, спасите». Никто не помог и не спас.
It took 7 calls, and by the time the police arrived, she was already dead. At least in that case, the police did something. Unlike when Yana Savchuk called the police for a second time after her ex assaulted her. We don't have official audio, but we have the transcript, and this is how the conversation went. Don't call us again. We won't come. What do you mean you won't come? What if something happens and I call you? You won't come? If he kills you, we will come and report the corpse. Don't worry. 40 minutes later, her ex brutally assaulted her while several bystanders stood by and did nothing before he fled the scene. Yana Savchuk died within the next day from her injuries. Now I know, horrible isolated incidents will always be possible and occur, but unfortunately, these are nowhere close to any kind of isolated incident. In 2017, Anastasia Ovechyankova was beaten by her husband until she was black and blue across her entire body, where he then posted this image across social media, stating he knew how to keep a woman in line. During this process, he would drag her body through the streets, punching and kicking her the entire time as he threw her body into the trunk of his car. This happened multiple times in multiple locations, and every single time, witnesses were present. And every single time, none of them did anything. No police calls, no interventions. Anastasia was, unfortunately, also murdered. With this apathy by the Russian people, the following actions will make more sense. In February of 2017, the Russian government passed an amendment that decriminalized domestic violence with a vote of 380 to 3, which was then signed into law by Putin. This might be hard to comprehend. Domestic violence was a crime, and they lessened its punishments. In this case, anything that did not cause substantial bodily harm, such as breaking bones or causing a concussion, would now be punished with, instead of a prison sentence, a fine. A slap on the wrist, if punishment was levied at all. Now, despite what some Russians might tell you, if you look into the reasons behind those who supported and voted for the amendment, they put it into very clear terms. Russian Orthodox church leaders stated that domestic violence was a personal family matter that the state had no room to interfere with, while legislators warned against bending to the West's influence trying to impose liberal values on Russia. I guess liberal values these days is thinking that domestic violence is wrong. Huh. I guess I'm a liberal. These results should come as no surprise. Domestic violence increased by 27%, while police were now less likely to do anything about each claim, because it was decriminalized. The results of this can be perfectly exemplified by the case of Margarita Gracheva, who, after being beaten by her husband Dmitry and then threatened with a knife, submitted reports to the police to do something about it. They told her they would get back to her case in 20 days. After all, most women who make claims withdrew them, is what they told her. 5 days after the police dropped the case, Dmitry drove her into the forest and chopped off both of her hands with an axe before dumping her in front of a hospital. Without media attention, he probably would have gotten 3 to 5 years in prison. For that. The rate of domestic violence killings in Russia is 37 times higher than that of the United States, a country that is 2.26 times the Russian population. Every year, 12,000 people die from domestic violence in Russia, and some estimates put that number as high as 15,000 per year. Every hour, someone dies from domestic violence in Russia. To put this in a different perspective, 49% of Russian women say that the most dangerous place for them is in their own home. Keep in mind, this is a great power, a major developed economic country in Europe, you know? And if things are this bad there, then it shouldn't surprise you what happens when you look past that into the wider world. There's so many examples to choose from, but acid attacks against women doing anything any male disagrees with have been on the rise in India and southern Asia. Female genital mutilation is still widespread across much of northern Africa. And of course, we know how women are treated in the multiple civil wars and strifes and conflicts, and the list can go on and on and on forever. So what's my ask for all of this? I would just say, raise these issues up and vote for politicians that will actually do something about this. Awareness is also important, so I will include a link to donate to the Moscow Times, an actual independent media source in Russia, who without much of this information and these stories would remain buried. Also included are a few advocacy groups that I thought did really good work. Change can and will happen in these countries, but that progress is incredibly slow. So while that happens, while we wait, remember this. The blood of these women lie at our feet, and every day we walk through it. It doesn't take much to look down and recognize it, and it shouldn't be too much of an ask to stop and do something about it. Until then, every day, women around the world are beaten, suppressed, disfigured, mauled, and murdered while we sit and watch.